The forest floor was a treacherous maze beneath a pale moon, each step a gamble in the dim light. Trees twisted and reached, their gnarled fingers clawing at the night sky, creating eerie silhouettes that danced in the moonlight. Claire ran. She didn't dare look back, her mind racing with fear and adrenaline. Each ragged breath echoed the pounding of her heart, a relentless drumbeat in the silence of the night. Fear, raw and consuming, lent speed to her flight, propelling her forward with a desperate urgency. She had wandered too far. The hiking trail, once a comforting presence, was now a distant memory, lost in the labyrinth of trees. Now, there was only the oppressive presence of the woods, closing in like a suffocating blanket, making her feel trapped and vulnerable. The moonlight, fractured by the dense canopy, offered little comfort, casting fragmented shadows that played tricks on her eyes. It twisted familiar shapes into lurking phantoms, each one a potential threat in the darkness. A low growl, carried on the wind, sent shivers down her spine, a chilling reminder that she was not alone. She pushed herself harder, ignoring the stinging branches and the growing ache in her side, driven by sheer survival instinct. Every shadow seemed to writhe, every rustle of leaves whispered a threat, heightening her sense of dread. She had to get out of the woods. She had to escape the nightmare that clung to her heels, a relentless force that threatened to consume her. The whispers started subtly. At first, Claire dismissed them as the rustling of leaves or the wind sighing through the trees. But as she plunged deeper into the heart of the forest, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to coil around her, slithering into her ears, her mind.
Claire!
The voice was a sibilant rasp, devoid of warmth or humanity. It sent chills down her spine. Her name, spoken with such malice, was a violation. It confirmed her darkest fears. She was not alone. She was being hunted. She fumbled for her phone, its screen a beacon of hope in the oppressive darkness. No signal, of course. Panic gnawed at the edges of her courage. She had to keep moving. Staying still, even for a moment, felt like inviting the darkness to claim her. Detective Harris, a man hardened by years on the job, stared at the missing person poster. His eyes, though tired, were sharp, scanning every detail of the young woman's face. He had seen too many of these, but each one still hit him hard. It was the third one this month, all young hikers vanishing without a trace from the same stretch of woods. The pattern was unmistakable, and the sense of urgency grew with each passing day. The locals called it the Woodsman's Playground, a chilling moniker that sent a shiver down his spine. The name alone conjured images of a sinister figure lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next victim. The legend of the Woodsman was an old one, whispered around campfires and in hushed tones. Stories of a vengeful spirit or a deranged hermit who claimed the lost and unwary had been passed down through generations. A solitary figure, they said, who roamed the woods, claiming the lost and unwary. Some said he was a ghost, others a man driven mad by isolation. But all agreed on one thing: the Woodsman was to be feared. Harris dismissed it as folklore, a ghost story to scare tourists. He had always been a man of logic and reason, not one to be swayed by tales of the supernatural. But the mounting disappearances, and the lack of any logical explanation, gnawed at his skepticism. Each case was a dead end, each lead a frustrating loop back to the beginning. He traced the route Claire had likely taken, his finger lingering on the last known point of contact. The map was worn from use, the paths and trails etched into his memory. The forest held a dark allure, a silent threat that resonated with an ancient fear deep within him. It was as if the trees themselves whispered secrets, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. He had a bad feeling about this case, a premonition that whispered of something sinister lurking beneath the surface. The weight of the unknown pressed heavily on him, and for the first time in his career he felt truly afraid.
You shouldn't be here.
Megan, a young officer assigned to assist Harris, jumped back, her hand instinctively reaching for her holster. The voice seemed to emanate from the woods themselves, ancient and full of unspoken menace. They were at the edge of the forest, the last known location of Claire's phone signal. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. Even in the daylight, the woods held an unsettling stillness, as if holding its breath, watching them.
Show yourself.
Harris, his senses on high alert, raised a hand, silencing Megan's startled response. Only the echo of his own words answered him. The forest held its secrets close. A buzz from her pocket jolted Claire back to the terrifying present. Her phone, miraculously regaining signal, displayed a message. The sender was unknown, the number a jumble of random digits. Her finger trembled as she opened the message. "I see you," it read, the words stark and chilling in the dim light of the screen. A wave of dizziness washed over her. This wasn't possible. She was alone, wasn't she? Paranoia tightened its grip. She whirled around, scanning the trees, searching for the source of the message. The forest, once indifferent, now felt like a conscious entity, watching her, toying with her. The message, a chilling reminder that she was not alone, sent her racing once more, deeper into the nightmare. The deeper they ventured into the woods, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The sunlight, already fading, struggled to penetrate the dense canopy. Shadows stretched and twisted, taking on menacing shapes.
I can't shake the feeling of being watched, like unseen eyes are following our every move.
They found Claire's backpack discarded near a moss-covered log. It was ripped open, its contents scattered. A sense of foreboding settled over Harris. This wasn't just a missing person case. This was something far more sinister.
We need to move quickly. The fading light won't last much longer. Soon, we'll be plunged into darkness, easy prey for whatever lurks within the heart of the woods.
A glint of metal through the trees caught Harris's eye. He approached cautiously, his hand hovering near his holster. There, nailed to the trunk of a gnarled oak, was a piece of clothing. A scrap of fabric, torn and stained, but unmistakably part of Claire's jacket. Beneath it, carved into the bark of the tree, was a symbol. A crudely etched figure, tall and gaunt, wielding an axe. The woodsman's mark. A chill ran down Harris's spine. The legend was real, and it was hunting Claire.
Megan, we need backup.
He spoke into his radio, his voice betraying a hint of urgency for the first time. The forest had revealed its hand. This wasn't a search and rescue anymore. It was a race against time, a desperate bid to save Claire from a fate too terrible to contemplate. Claire stumbled into a clearing, her legs leaden with exhaustion. She had been running for what felt like hours, her breath ragged and her heart pounding in her chest. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to dance and twist with a life of their own. In the center of the clearing stood a figure, motionless and foreboding. Tall, skeletal, its features obscured by a wide-brimmed hat that cast a deep shadow over its face. It held an axe, its blade glinting ominously in the moonlight. The Woodsman, a name whispered in fear by those who knew the legends. Terror, cold and paralyzing, rooted her to the spot. She felt as if the very air around her had turned to ice. Her breath caught in her throat, her scream trapped in a prison of fear. She could feel her pulse hammering in her ears. The figure took a step towards her, then another, each movement slow and deliberate. Each step was slow, deliberate, filled with a terrifying purpose that seemed to echo through the silent forest.
You're not supposed to be here.
The figure rasped, its voice a chilling echo of the whispers that had haunted her flight through the dark woods. Claire wanted to run, to scream, to fight back. Every instinct screamed at her to move, to do something, but the terror held her captive, a puppet in the grip of a nightmare, unable to break free from the invisible chains that bound her. The phone on Harris's desk rang, shattering the tense silence of the station. He snatched it up, his heart pounding in his chest. It was Megan. Her voice, usually calm and professional, was ragged with panic.
Harris, get here now. It's happening again. The Woodsman.
The line went dead, leaving a chilling silence in its wake. Harris slammed the phone down, his blood turning to ice. He had been too late for Claire, but he wouldn't be too late for Megan.
I'm coming, Megan. Hold on.
As he raced towards the door, another sound stopped him in his tracks. A low, rasping voice, seemingly coming from the shadows of the station itself.
You're next, detective.
The Woodsman was closer than he thought. The hunt was far from over.